The last 18 hours of my life have been absolutely horrific. I've been stranded in Glasgow. I've been with James Lawrence Alcott, and I've seen Chelsea get walloped at Old Trafford. Now, this is totally unacceptable. Now, whatever you think of Chelsea, whatever season Chelsea are having, whatever starting lineup we have, whatever the ability in the squad, Chelsea always perform against Manchester United. Chelsea always turn up at Old Trafford. We have been a thorn in their side. We are their bogey team. And far worse teams than this Chelsea team have beaten far better teams of Manchester United. And yet that's a performance we put in. Conceding goals for fun. No heart, no spirit, no fight, nothing. Pathetic. And it is completely and utterly unacceptable. How has Chelsea, the DNA of Chelsea, changed so much? For decades, my entire life, Chelsea have always turned up when it most matters at Old Trafford. When we've been poxy, dreadful Chelsea teams have gone to Old Trafford and given them a real game. Gone to Old Trafford and won. Think back. Doesn't matter how old you are. You will definitely have an iconic moment of the Chelsea team that isn't functioning fully, beating, often, a glorious Manchester United team. You've got Gavin Peacock scoring the winner against Manchester United at Old Trafford, bearing in mind Manchester United that year won the double. You've got Mario Melchiot scoring goals at Old Trafford. You've got Michael Dewberry scoring goals at Old Trafford. You've got Gianluca Vialli scoring goals at Old Trafford. Winners at Old Trafford. Straight through Peter Schmeichel's legs. We always turn up. One matter more recently, depending on your age, right? And this is what we are today. This is the Chelsea team of today. Just getting absolutely walloped. This bunch of mercenaries that are currently representing the club are not fit to wear the shirt. We're shambolic. We are completely and utterly shambolic. And I think that you can put it down to many reasons. But sometimes football can be really simple. Sometimes the players just aren't good enough. Sometimes the players just do not care. Sometimes football clubs get themselves into a situation where they are linked to and partnered with players that are not fit to wear the shirt. And that is what Chelsea have. Chelsea have at least half a dozen players at the club who should not be there. Half a dozen players at the club who are not fit to wear the shirt. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. Look, we were bad, right? But they weren't good. The game could have finished, 10-6. But obviously, Chelsea can't score 6 goals because Kai Havertz is in the team. And now it's getting to the stage where we're just unrecognisable from the club that we were. Like the era of my lifetime following Chelsea, from Bates into Abramovich, there was a continuity. There was an understanding of who we were. That has been obliterated, completely and utterly obliterated. This new ownership have come in and changed who we are, changed the way that we approach games, changed the very fibre of the club. Like, we are now 14 games without a goal in the Premier League season. 14 games in a Premier League season without scoring a goal. Like, that's just unacceptable. Like, this is our lowest points tally ever. Like, we are so bad. And let's face it, I can't really see us scoring against Newcastle. And Joao Felix scored in the last kick of the game to make sure that record didn't count for Manchester United, for the game against Manchester United. You know, not since 1995, 1996 have we finished in the bottom half. Chelsea Football Club are a team. We are a club that have won 5 Premier League trophies, 6 titles in total. And yet I think that we're going to end the season in 14th. That's where I predict us to finish now. We might get lucky. We might finish 12th. You know, think about the points tally that Chelsea are going to get this season. Our points tally is currently 43. And if we get beat by Newcastle, it will remain 43. 43 is our lowest points total ever. That is where we are. And there were Chelsea teams in the not too distant past that nearly got relegated. There were Chelsea teams that I genuinely believed were going down. There were Chelsea teams, in fact, that were poor enough to go down. The season where we beat Sheffield United 3-2, the last day of the season, Mark Stein, that team could have gone down. That team definitely could have gone down, in fact. we got a string of results around Christmas. Mark Stein scored, I think, in 7 consecutive games. This team's as bad as that. And when you think about players from that era and you compare it to this era, think about the wages that Koulibaly's on. Think about the wages that Raheem Sterling's on. Think about the wages that that basically every player at the club is on. Think about the performances. Think about the level of footballer that they are supposed to be. You know, when Chelsea signed Kai Havertz, people were telling me that he was a Ballon d'Or winner. People were telling me that he was a generational talent. He's not fit to lace John Spencer's boots. He's not fit to lace John Spencer's boots. Mark Cucurella, Brighton's Player of the Year. £60-odd million. Pep Guardiola wants him. Not fit to lace Graham Lassau's boots. Nowhere near as good. I wouldn't even have... I'd have Andy Myers. I would genuinely have Andy Myers over Mark Cucurella. We are just, honestly, completely and utterly devoid of identity and devoid of any ideas. You know, look at the performance yesterday. And now look, I know that we played a very young team. I mean, and I think Frank Lampard did the right thing playing such a young side. You know, Cesar Azpilicueta was the oldest player in the team by a mile. He can't play for Chelsea anymore either, by the way. It's ridiculous. He wasn't good enough to play for Chelsea 4 years ago. You know, it's so over for him. But yesterday, like, we were hopeless. We were so disorganised. We were horribly erratic. And the individual errors, just so bad. There was so much wrong with the team. And look, I like the idea of giving youth a chance. But, you know, I just don't really see if the players, despite being young, despite having potential, are they right? Are they good enough? You know, like, I like Trevor Chalobah. I actually voted for him in my Player of the Year. I think that I like the way that he's played. I like the way that he's approached the game. I like his attitude. I like him. So I voted him Player of the Year. But he had a torrid night. I mean, Wesley Fofana. It's quite funny. I know I've got a Leicester fan who I work with. He was telling me he wasn't sure. You know, I just thought it was sour grapes because of the way he left. But when he gave that penalty away and then gifted United the fourth, it was such a sloppy pass. We saw it the other day when he tried to just play it out from the back. It really, really is a worry. But we must remember, Cesar Azpilicueta is, 33? He was a decade older than everyone else. So I don't think we can read too much into it in terms of the scoreline, or in terms of the result. The scoreline's not ideal. The result doesn't matter. The scoreline's not ideal, but the performance. Because I think what happens is sometimes, right, part of you wants to ask, how much of what we're seeing at the moment is part of the team being totally lacking and devoid of any confidence? Like, can we blame a lack of confidence on this team? And, you know, when everything's going wrong, things continue to go wrong or whatever. But I just think the players aren't good enough, you know. When you think about who Chelsea are, when you think about the standing of Chelsea Football Club, when you think about who we are hoping to be next season, I just don't think these players are good enough. And, you know, I think a lot of people like to blame Lampard, and Lampard isn't in the clear. Of course not. Of course, Lampard needs to take his share of responsibility. But if anyone thinks that a new manager comes in and changes this, it's just not going to happen. Look, Lampard has done himself no favours. And on some level, I wish he'd never taken the job. But because he loves Chelsea, he tried to do the best for us. But it just didn't work, did it? We didn't get any sort of manager bounce. You know, we lost to what? Wolves, Real Madrid twice, Brighton, Brentford, Arsenal, Man City. You basically just name teams now, don't you? Forest, Man United. Like, just dreadful. In fact, if you're naming teams that we've beaten under, apart from Bournemouth, is there anyone? And we only really beat Bournemouth because they were celebrating safety. But there we have it. I just don't know where we're going to go from here. I've got a terrible feeling that next season is going to be, like, atrocious. And I think anybody that looks at this crop of players and thinks a new manager and another transfer window is going to change everything, they're so mistaken. You know, I think some people are trying to take heart from where Manchester United were this time last year. And you look at who they are now, what they're doing now. But it just isn't true. You know, it really, really isn't true. Like, Manchester United 12 months ago were they finished sixth. So they made it into the Europa League. So they were obviously better off than we were. But they'd had a bad season. They obviously had Solskjaer. They'd had Carrick. They'd had Rangnick. It's not dissimilar to Chelsea. We've obviously had Tuchel, Potter, and that bald fellow, Bruno Salter. So forgettable, isn't it? So maybe we can take some positives from that. You know, United finished 16 points behind Chelsea last season. They are now in the Champions League. We were third. They were 16 points behind us. They are now in the Champions League. So it's not an insurmountable task if you get it right. But I just think the running of the club is so troubling. And everybody knows I've got question marks about Pochettino. Why has Pochettino not been announced, by the way? What's going on there? Anyone got any ideas? Anyway, like I say, I've had a brilliant 24 hours. I was playing football with the iconic Theo Baker at one of the most historic football stadiums in the world, full of heritage. I was at Ibrox. Anybody that follows me on social media would have seen that. But me and James Alcott, flights delayed, flights cancelled, had to stay over when we didn't need to. Dramas. Haven't slept. Can't remember the last time I went to bed. Gonna try and have a kip. Anyway, I hope you're all well. Please click subscribe. Sorry for being so down. In a bit, yo.